Hello there guys, and welcome to my YouTube video on Ancient Dungeons. And in this guide, I'm pretty much going to be covering Ancient Dungeon basics, as well as the previous three Ancient Dungeons, or Dungeon 4s as you call them. So starting from South Peak, Iron Fate, with Fenrir's Omen, and the latest one, which is the Secret Leaf Clover Lodge. Now, before I get into any of this, I will say Ancient Dungeons, guys, is the hardest dungeons in the game. Usually it's going to be very difficult to beat these dungeons, and there's going to be a kind of specific setup or specific setups that you're going to have to actually chase after, where well, especially if you're trying to clear it currently at the moment. For the latest dungeon, for example, you are going to need pretty much everything, as I say, but maybe in a tier's time or in 2 tiers time it will become easier. So the reason I'm not covering Ancient Odyssey or anything before that is because usually if you get to the end zone, and you can just beat it by brute force TS. So basically covering the latest ancient dungeons, how to go about beating them, and hope to keep this updated as I go on. But we'll see. So first things to keep in mind about the ancient dungeons is it's going to help you a lot to know how to manual. And I can kind of show you a little bit how it's done. But obviously depends on the mobs you're facing. So the first thing I think that's good to do is to know the setup you're going to have to go, what setup you're going to try, and see what the mobs are. So if I go into the wiki right now, which I actually have pulled up right here, and basically to get to this page, all I clicked on was activity zones and find the specific zone. So let's say we're trying to beat South Peak at the moment. We'll start off with South Peak. And I will try to leave timestamps in the description so you guys can have a look at it. So if I scroll down all the way to South Peak, click on that. We're interested in Iron Fate, but basically in the dungeon Iron Fate, you're gonna get epic boss of the previous 3 dungeons. It's gonna be 3 of those. And well, depending on the zone, there's only 2 dungeons, and the 3rd dungeon is the ancient one. You're gonna have 3 bosses, 1 duplicate, that's how it's gonna work. But basically, you're going to have to kind of get familiar to what the enemies you're facing, which ones you want to kill, which ones you want to actually keep alive, which like your saving graces. So usually the tanky mobs, they don't deal a lot of damage. Keep them alive, get full shields before your next battle. Very good to know. But yeah, basically study the skills, see what they do. If you're unfamiliar with the terms, you can always check the wiki. There's everything on there which explain exactly what Oxidize does, what Root does. And it'll tell you exactly what you have to watch out for. So if you're dying, if you're losing, you can see exactly what the issue is. But in the South Peak dungeon, the main issue for you that will be this boss here, Malika. And this boss is going to be difficult because they just have so much healing in their kit. It's very hard to actually beat them. But there's a variety of ways at the moment which you can go about beating it. So yeah, in this dungeon, as we can see here, all enemies, including yourself, have 100% barrier. So no multi-hits, no pet procs when you hit an enemy are going to be useful. So you're going to want per turn brains and pets, or you're going to want when you get hit brains. But not too difficult. The best way to go about doing this is if I pull back up into the game. Let's go back here. It's simply to go Bakuna set. Right, if we go Bakunas, any variation really, I'll equip this. Yeah, you're going Bakunas. You could do Battle Axe over here with Bakunas on the top right here. We'll just switch that just for example. Something like this. This would probably clear it just fine. One thing to keep in mind is the hardest boss that you are going to face, jump in here, is going to be Malika. So this dungeon is probably the easiest one, especially if you're caught up on the game and everything. It shouldn't be too difficult. Where I should have switched out my pet as well for this dungeon. So this is going to be probably the easiest way, cheapest way for you to solve it. It's just to go Bakunas, Battle Axe. I'm going to need to switch pets here, but you're just going to basically try to spam your big hit skills to kill them. Let me go cover the setup for you guys. 1 second. So if we get Battle Axe, we have Bakunas. This is one of the ways to beat it. If you have questions or you need a different way If you let me know in the comments what you have, so I can help coach you through using what you have, what you might need to beat the dungeon. But yeah, what I would suggest is going in power with Battle Axe. Do we have Bolly here? Yes, we do. That's perfect. I'm going to actually switch mounts to this. So one of the requirements is to have Bolly to give you the SP. You're going to want a pet to damage the enemy when you get hit. So let's do attack closest when you get hit. Excellent. You could do 100% block here, but since I'm using this, I'm not going to go for any block at all. I'm using evade. And you can go in power as well. But for the sake of this, I'm just going to use the jacket. And that's going to be my damage reduction. But 100% block would work, or you could go in power, switch off everything full in power against the boss. One thing I will say is when you're entering an ancient dungeon, whatever TS you have at the moment is whatever your familiars are going to have. So if I throw in anything in here, really. Give it a second. Let's go all the way down. Yeah, this guy will do. So his TS is equivalent to my TS at the moment. Once I enter this dungeon, everything I have set up here will stay locked in, and so will his TS. So I could enter this dungeon right now. Let's see, turn it off. I could take all my gear off, and he would stay with all the augments, and I could go on him. Forgot already what his name was, but if you click on common familiars, he should be the last one. Well, I think he's this guy. So if I switch out any augments right now, what he has at the moment is what he's going to keep. So that's very important to keep in mind when you're doing these ancient dungeons. Yeah, let's just go to it. Basically, the concept is you're going to try to one-shot the bosses with your big hits here. There you go. My pet is doing most of the work. If you have questions, please leave them below. I will explain it. I can also make further videos if you're getting stuck, or if it's like, hey, I tried this, it's not working. But you want to go in power. Pacunas is the best because you're going to get healing. Pretty much going to get healing all the time when you do get hit, because you're going to proc barrier 100% of the time. So it's very, very good to have a 4-piece bonus of Pacunas. But we'll see if I will struggle with this boss now. I might not, because my TS is so inflated at the moment. Compared to beating this dungeon, which I actually did beat at a current tier, which is very hard to do. A lot of people will just wait to beat the dungeon. But let's fast forward a little bit here. We'll jump to the most annoying boss, which will be Malika. This boss here, well, we already saw one of the bosses, the Earth one. He does a lot of damage, but he has not a lot of health, and he's not too difficult to deal with. That guy is just really tanky. He might take a few hits with power and crits off the battle axe. But the boss that's most annoying is the healing boss. Let's just go find them. Alrighty. This boss here. So this boss does a lot of healing. I would try not to use this to not kill it. But you see, he heals pretty much the full every single time. Oh, he's gonna die here, but yeah, that's because my pet is just dealing way more damage than he can heal. Now, I think a set that could help with this is you could equip it just for this boss. Could be the current newest one, the brass set, which will actually suck all the heals from the boss and will allow you to basically, well, will make the boss heal less. But I think this setup, going Pacunas, Battle Axe, anything here will do. For your stamina, you gotta find the equal points. You gotta identify what's killing you. Obviously, I can't make a guide because it will be different for everyone. They gotta use what they have to beat this dungeon. But the principles will always be there, which will be Pacunas, Battle Axe. Another option could be the Odina main hand, which has a very strong, actually, 3 SP. But yeah, I get most of this information from the wiki, seeing the damage ratios of things and what they're doing. But this dungeon here, for sure, not one of the hardest dungeons of the ancient ones at the moment. And it's where it's going to get tricky in the next one. Maybe next tier, the T16 dungeon will be a lot easier. But yeah, let's go take a look at that dungeon right now. So here we are with this dungeon. And this dungeon is actually easiest to beat as a DPS, but however it is beatable as any other role. I did forget to mention previously that a DPS can clear this dungeon, but even if you're a DPS, I'd recommend getting Pacunas, and then you can just solo the whole dungeon. You don't need any familiars, just get Bakunas and smash your way through it. You can even use familiars to help you, but yeah, Bakunas will basically be the key to making this dungeon very easy. But you can beat it as DPS using evade familiars. They will help, such as Tathius. We'll show Tathius here before we jump into the next one. Did forget this to mention this. So yeah, something like Tathius will help, and Oladas, which are evade familiars, which can help stop the damage. And then you could use, well, whatever DPS set of your choosing, and you would go a per turn pet. And probably mostly power rather than speed, as having more power will basically mean you kill everything in one shot. Let's go to this dungeon here, which a lot of people have been asking me, how can I beat this as tank bait, especially because a lot of DPSs have beaten it, just a lot of baits and tanks that are waiting to beat it. Now I actually want to try something. I'm going to change my setup here to Witcher bait. Oops, I'm going to go here. So you could beat it as bait, but I'll cover every single role of the familiars, exactly what you can use to help you beat this dungeon. So the first thing I do want to try, which actually might be a cheap solution for everyone out there, could just be using this good old guy here. So this good old familiar, it's been with us for a long time. I could actually try and whip him out for this dungeon using deflect, augments, and I'm actually going to try to use them. It will be a lot harder to actually use them, but I think it might help everyone get an idea of how you can go about beating this dungeon. And I'm not going to go full solo mode in this dungeon at the moment. I will try to beat it as a standard bait without using the new ancient over here for you guys. So basically, I'm going to want to pump this guy up with deflect. You're going to want 2 deflect tanks for this dungeon. Hilarious. Where's my other deflect pump? Maybe I don't have a mythic one. I do not think I do. It would be nice if I could search for the pump I'm looking for. We're gonna get there, we're gonna get there, we're gonna get there. Here we go. So he's a bit low on deflect. He's got 6, let's see. He's just about over 30% deflect. We're gonna want to stick redirect on him. So pet brains are disabled, so this doesn't matter. Or below this. Right at. So what I'm going to want for this, if it will load, give it a second. Boom. 2 of them. Then I'm going to want to bait in slot 2, which can either be yourself or you can go as tank. Going tank deflect is best. However, if you cannot go deflect tank, you can just go Bakuna's tank, and it will do the job just fine. You are probably going to want a healer, Freste. Blink is another option as well. Hugh is an epic healer. If I pull up the wiki once again, let's find Blinker very quickly for you guys. If I go on familiars, fusion, let it load, Control F, Blinker. Oh, and there it is. So Blinker, excellent familiar. That's a healer, which actually shields your whole entire team, has very good ratios. But I don't use them. I use Freste, I already have him. I have no interest in Blinker at the moment. Maybe in the future. But again, excellent familiar with Empower. And with all healers, I like to go full Empower, as I think it is best to go full Empower. I just realized you guys cannot see anything. Excellent. Alright, let me go record that again. So yeah, on my Freste here, you can see I am taking all Empower, everything on him. Brain doesn't matter, heal power. Essentially, you just want an Empower-based healer. You want a deflect-based tank. The most important thing is getting a deflect-based tank. So that's gonna make this dungeon 100 million times easier. You gotta get these deflect tanks. Larix is an option. Jello is an option. Estali is an option. You want high stamina, high deflect. You can always go check the wiki, find something that you can make. So I would probably use Jello just because he's legendary. You can get more out of the augments. and he has high deflect chance as well. And as for yourself, you can go bait. Another bait option is Oladus, as I talked about him before. Oladus is an excellent evade familiar. Does the job if you want to go tank yourself, go Pacunus or go full deflect, whatever suits you. See what works. And as for DPS, you want to use obviously whatever DPS familiars you got. You want to work what you got. You can't just farm something that you don't have. But use the best thing you have. So I'm gonna actually try to beat this with Pinguida at the moment, which is well, not the best familiar for this dungeon, but it's just for you to get the theory of how you can go about beating this. If you're going DPS, it's a lot easier for yourself, but Pinguida will actually do the job. If you get lucky, if you get the deflect RNGs, the bosses can even one-shot themselves. But yeah, I'm not gonna even put anything on him, but I'm just trying to do a run, see how it goes. The most important thing is the deflect tanks. That's gonna make this dungeon 100 million times easier. So let's see, can we get a boss straight away? Yep, the hardest one. We're probably just gonna completely destroy it, but let's see if we can at least chunk him a little bit. So he did lose a little bit of health. Obviously not enough for what we want. But essentially, we're just going to smack our faces into this dungeon as many times as it takes for us to beat it. We're not getting the lucky deflect RNGs today. But we'll see what we can do. Weakest. And then again, for you to check the familiars on the wiki, I won't go back and show it to you because I showed it for the previous dungeon. But go check on the wiki, see exactly who you should be targeting, who is the threats. I can tell you that this guy is one of them. And then afterwards, you probably target this guy here and then this one over here. But yeah, let's see if we can actually get lucky. Nope, we can't. Let's heal this guy back up. And see, the boss did kill himself, but unfortunately our whole team is dead, which is not great at all. But yeah, the whole basis of being this dungeon, guys, is this is not an easy dungeon, especially now. Maybe next year will be way easier. But the way you're gonna go about beating it is hoping you get lucky deflects, and the enemies will just like one-shot themselves. So that's probably the hardest boss to beat in this whole dungeon. The easiest one I would say is the archer boss. Let's see if we can go and find them. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Do you want to try to heal my guys up a little bit here? They're getting destroyed. Yeah, I do not have a very good healer here at all. I mean, sorry, I do not have a good setup at the moment. Trying to beat this using Hilariouses. Perfect. And guys, again, feel free to comment below if you have questions. I'm gonna actually try potion here, see if you can get this boss to one-shot themselves. Do post them down below. I will try to answer everything. We can always reach out to me on Discord. Okay, the flag didn't really do much there. They just got completely obliterated and have no potions left. Excellent. I should probably switch out my setup as well. And maybe I will put some augments on my Pinguida. Let's do some. I don't want to take it from my other familiars, but I guess I'm gonna have to. In power, sure, and then 2 dual strikes. Let's find. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's find some dual strikes here. Here we go. That will do. That will do as well. Bear in mind, built-in brains do work in this dungeon. Okay, let's just jump into it, see what we can do here. Okay, that boss again. Hopefully we can get some good deflects. Oh, well, the boss did almost one-shot himself. Yeah, this is going to take a lot of attempts, I feel like, using Hilarious. But eventually, we get very lucky. We get that one lucky run, which is all that really matters. You only need to beat this once. It's essentially a flag made for endgame people. So this boss here, probably one of the easiest bosses. Because he can just completely one-shot himself. Fortunately, he's in this slot here, so it's not very nice for us that he's all the way back there. I'm not going to use any potions yet. I'm going to wait until they die. Then I'll potion them up. Okay. Do this. That's not good. Let's try to kill him. Combust. Ow, it's doomed run. I mean, I don't want to be clearing it by myself. I do want to try to rely on my team somewhat. Well, we'll go right back into it. But essentially, guys, the key to this dungeon to praying for your RNG deflects. And then you need a DPS that's somewhat good enough to try to finish them off in one single turn. Penguin is probably not the familiar for it. And if you're a DPS player, you're in quite a lot of luck because it'll be a lot easier to beat this as a DPS as opposed to as a tank and a bait. Unless the only other unless is if you're going a deflect tank, which would work actually very, very well for this dungeon. Let's do this one more on, and then I'm gonna just get right into the next dungeon. See if we can beat it. So over here, actually, what I do want to do, I don't even know. I forgot his skills. The weakest 3 times, random enemy, strongest. So do kind of try to want a DPS kill this guy and this guy here. They are causing me a bit of problems, but my Penguita can deal the damage here. See if we can heal a little bit more. Nope, that guy deflected himself. Okay, it's this guy again. He might completely wipe me here. Oh, yep. Got no lucky RNG procs there. Heal, heal, heal. Let's see if my Penguita can do. Oh my gosh, it's a lot of damage. Nah, not a good runs at all. And I'll probably switch to Jello as he's going to be a lot better than my Hilarious at the moment. Oh, if I will try to get a nice Hilarious setup, see if I can get that to work for this dungeon. But as it is, you might be better off trying to go bait with evade and trying to clear it by yourself, putting yourself slot 1. But again, issue why I'm struggling with that is obviously my tanks are dying straight away. And my DPS cannot completely one-shot the enemies. Which, if I could fulfill at least one of these requirements, this dungeon would be a lot easier. But this is obviously a terrible team setup for it. But it's the theory you guys have to understand that it's using the deflect tanks, the DPS, it's everyone working together to beat the dungeon. Yeah. So I'm gonna get into the next dungeon. If you guys got questions or you need help, reach out in the comments or message me on Discord, and I'll be happy to take time to take you through this dungeon and help you try to beat it with what you have. So quick setup. Don't want this video to be too long. For the secret Leaf Clover, there's only one real setup for it. Slight variations here and there you can do, but this is just gonna cover the most efficient thing to do. I'm going to try a different setup because I'm trying to use Lady Spanking at the moment, Sparking or whatever. But your setup is going to be going Pecunus. You would actually go Evolvium here with Max Shields, Evade, and Barrier. So Evolvium would be over here, and you wouldn't have this item at the moment, but I'm going to use it after so much stress. This dungeon has been very difficult. But yeah, then you use Jacket exactly as you see it. You can use Dismount, or you can use the Evade mount. You want to redirect on yourself, volley, or evade everything. That doesn't really matter. Evade everything in your enchants as well to get as much evade as possible while wearing Pecunus for that healing cleanse. Your Lurkies, I like to go full dual strike. I have 1 in power here. But yeah, full dual strike and power, excellent. You this here, I think it's very nice to use a chat augment over here because it means you can spam your higher speed skills, which are the best on Lurky, to proc his brain to kill everything and then gain SP back by killing things. So you have an infinite loop of spamming high SP abilities, which is very nice. Your brain will be attack closest. Attack strongest is good too, but the best brain is attack closest and hoping the bosses are going to spawn in that first slot. This here, a couple variations you can go, just anything that does damage really, SP skills that deal damage. I'm not going to cover Lady Sparkling because I'm going full speed on her defensive to try to break up the trumpet guys, attacks. But I will cover King Usaba, so you would want to try to use 3 Lurkies. That is probably your best bet to try to win this dungeon. No redirect on this guy. Instead, anything else will do. Then you go block on him instead of damage reduction, defensive, and something DR for his chip over here. Essentially, this dungeon is very difficult. The hardest part of it is obviously the trumpet boss, who's right there. Let's see if we can build some SP up before we go lose against him, probably. But yeah, it's one of the hardest bosses in the game at the moment. But we will try to prevail one way or another. So yeah, let's see if we can showcase Loki spamming his SP skills. There you go, see how I gained a bunch of SP from using. Okay, so I can spam this, and I'm full SP just from killing that one unit, which is very, very nice. So let's try to heal. Got some fury there, excellent. And so let's just go and face this boss. See if we can survive maybe one turn now that I have my lucky item. And that actually went very, very well. I'll be damned, that works really, really nicely. So let's see if we can heal myself. And let's try to shock everyone here. Oh, and oh, wow. I actually get a turn to potion myself here. That's very, very lucky. Usually this doesn't happen. Usually I get completely maltated. But I am using the lucky. This isn't how your runs are probably going to look like. It's going to look a lot harder than this. I'm questioning if I use this or if it's going to attack the boss. Maybe. So that didn't attack the boss. But it's fine. But that is the setup. You're going to want to try to get as many brain procs to kill the boss. So I'm spamming that attack the whole enemy team. Maybe if I had another Lurky there, I could have potentially beat him. But yeah, that's going to be it. It's kind of hard to give all the details because there's way too much information to cover depending on what your specific setup is. But that's an idea of how you can go about beating the ancient dungeons, recognizing the enemies you got to focus down, the enemies you want to keep alive so you can build SP and get full shields so you can enter the boss with the best chance possible of killing them. So yeah, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please like and consider subscribing, and yeah, leave questions down below. I will do my best to answer them. And for anyone out there struggling on the D4 and is really, really wanting to try to beat it, reach out to me on Discord. I'll leave my Discord server down below, or you can just leave a comment. And yeah, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the game. Peace.